And that's why Trump has been had his suspension from Facebook upheld for another 6 months. It was inflammatory postings on January the 6th, essentially inciting an attack upon the US Capitol, rioting at the US Capitol. It's bizarre how quickly we've looked away from that, isn't it? I don't know what the situation is like in America. Hopefully I'll have plenty of Americans listening today and they can give us a quick steer on this. But the numbers are almost too staggering to properly process. The number of people who Donald Trump has persuaded, has conned with his latest lie. And I think for the purposes of today's conversation, we may leave all the other transgressions from basic decency and truth at the door and focus exclusively on this ludicrous claim that the election was somehow stolen from him, that the count was somehow corrupted, a claim that is based upon not a single scintilla of evidence. And at this point, I don't know what it will be like today, but traditionally my inbox would now start pinging with people saying that's not true, there's lots of evidence, and they would be linking to lies on Facebook. The psychological process which allows one to treat the truth almost as a buffet, where you can decide what you're going to believe and what you're not going to believe, regardless of what is objectively true, is terrifying. It's not new. It's not unique to this era, which means it's not unique to Facebook influence. But it is terrifying. It's always been terrifying. The last number I saw was, I think, 70% of registered Republicans believed Donald Trump's lies about the election. Now, that would be a big enough story in and of itself. But just pause for a minute. I don't know if you've ever done this. Just pause for a minute and wonder whether or not, or wonder what would have happened on January the 6th if for example, if that police officer hadn't led the rioters away from where Mike Pence was hiding. What would have happened? This mob, this baying mob of utterly unhinged from the truth individuals on the steps of democracy itself in America, poised to torch it, both literally and metaphorically, and doing so at the behest of an actual president. I mean, it's quite incredible. I suppose part of the explanation must be that if you had sort of, well, I don't even know. I've got nothing. I can't even begin to imagine the acrobatics, the mental acrobatics you would have to undertake to end up where those rioters ended up on that day. And quite what goes on in the mind of what we'd have to call Trump loyalists, senators, congressmen who could have been victims of that mob, still somehow paying fealty, paying homage to the man that unleashed it. It's actually incredible. I think this is why we don't talk about it. I can almost feel my internal censor winding my internal neck in at the moment, because there's a little bit of me that is thinking as I say the words, this can't be true. It's America, man. It's not like the Philippines under Ferdinand Marcos or something like that, or Stalinist Russia. This is America, the land of the free. And yet it's not even 4 months. Or it is possibly just 4 months to the day, actually. January, February, March, April, May. Right, for January to February, February to March. March to April, April to May. 4 or 5 months. Not very good at mental arithmetic. It's incredible that we have sort of all moved on. And America is still enthralled to this. There's still talk about Trump having another crack in 2024. And yet the sheer scale of this last lie is almost, I don't know, it's almost as if that the normalization of dishonesty and deceit had become so complete that there was now no lie too big. And it's not the fact that Trump lies on this scale that I find still staggering. It's the fact that so many people apparently believe it. What would we think if Neil Armstrong landed on the moon and undertook a geological survey of what the moon was made of? The details were then announced to the American public, and 70% of registered Republicans persisted in believing that the moon was made of cheese. And what would we think? Seriously. We'd think America had completely lost the plot, or at least 70% of registered Republicans had completely lost the plot. And yet here we are, contemplating a situation where 70% of registered Republicans apparently still believe the enormous lie utterly unevidenced, some epic lawsuits underway against people who helped propagate these lies, but they still believe that it's true.